my channel, where nightmares are not just dreams, but real stories waiting to be told. Tonight, I bring you terrifying true stories. Stories that will make you question reality. Stories so disturbing they might just keep you up at night. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.
Location: Montana, USA. Year 2013. It was late, past 2 a.m., when Michael left his friend's house. He had stayed longer than expected, playing video games, losing track of time. His apartment was just 10 minutes away, and he figured he'd walk. It was a quiet town, nothing ever happened here. But that night, he would regret walking home alone. The streets were empty. The only sounds were his own footsteps and the occasional flickering streetlight buzzing overhead. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. He adjusted his backpack and kept walking, turning onto a quieter street. That's when he saw him. A man, in the distance, standing completely still. He was dressed oddly, a gray suit, a loose tie, slightly oversized, as if he had borrowed it from someone bigger. His hair was slicked back, but messy, like he had been running his fingers through it repeatedly. And then there was his face. He was smiling, not a polite, friendly smile, a wide, unnatural grin, too wide, too forced, like he was trying to copy what a human smile should look like. Michael felt a chill run down his spine. The man wasn't moving. He was just standing there, grinning at him. Michael shook off the unease and kept walking. Maybe the guy was drunk, maybe just a weirdo. Whatever, not his problem. He picked up his pace, keeping his eyes forward, but then he heard it. Soft footsteps. He glanced back. The man was walking too, not running, not speed walking, just matching his pace exactly, that same wide grin plastered on his face. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't heading anywhere. He was following Michael. Michael's stomach twisted. He turned a corner quickly, picking up speed, but as he glanced back again, the man was still there. Not walking anymore, dancing. His steps were exaggerated, his arms swinging in unnatural puppet-like movements. It wasn't random, it was deliberate. A slow, theatrical dance, like a child playing a game that Michael wanted no part of. He walked faster, the man danced faster, that horrible grin never wavered. Michael's heart pounded. He was near his apartment now, just 3 blocks away. He turned one last time, and the man was gone. His breath came out shaky. Maybe the guy had just been messing with him. Maybe it was over. But as he reached the door to his building, he hesitated. Something felt wrong. Slowly, he turned around, and his blood froze. The man was standing in the middle of the street, closer now, still grinning. But now, his head was tilted. Not a normal head tilt, too far, like a broken doll. His grin stretched too wide, as if his skin would tear. His chest rose and fell in sharp, excited breaths. Michael fumbled with his key, shoving the door open. He slammed it behind him and sprinted up the stairs to his apartment, locking the door behind him. He peeked out his window, his body shaking. The man was still standing outside, motionless, grinning. Then he waved. Michael didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window watching. The man didn't move for hours, just stood there, smiling. At 5 a.m., as the sky lightened, the man finally turned. He walked slowly down the street and disappeared around the corner. Michael never saw him again, but sometimes, late at night, when he walks home, he feels something, a presence, a chill in the air, and in the silence, he swears he can hear the faint sound of shoes tapping against pavement in a slow, rhythmic dance.
Story number 2.
Location: Arizona, USA. Year 2001. Daniel had been driving all night. He was a trucker, used to long hauls. but something about this stretch of highway felt off. It was a lonely road through the Arizona desert. No streetlights, no towns for miles, just darkness. It was around 2 a.m. when he spotted someone on the side of the road. A woman, dressed in a light-colored dress, her long blonde hair covering most of her face. She stood perfectly still, one hand raised, signaling for a ride. Daniel hesitated. He never picked up hitchhikers, but something compelled him to stop. He pulled over, rolling down his window. "Need a ride?" The woman nodded slowly, wordlessly. She walked to the passenger side and got in. Her movements were smooth, almost too smooth. As he pulled back onto the highway, silence filled the truck. The woman sat perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead. She didn't blink, didn't move. Daniel swallowed hard. "So, where are you headed?" Her voice was soft, distant, just up ahead. They drove in silence for several miles. The air felt heavy, like a storm was about to break. Something was wrong. He could feel it. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her smile. Not a normal smile, too wide, like her lips stretched further than they should. Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. His pulse pounded. He didn't look at her directly. He just kept driving. "You can let me out here," she said suddenly. Daniel exhaled, relieved. He pulled over, glancing at the empty road. No houses, no gas stations, just desert. As he turned to ask if she was sure, the seat was empty. His breath hitched. He hadn't heard the door open, hadn't felt movement. She was just gone. A cold chill crawled down his spine. His stomach twisted as he slowly turned forward again and saw it. In the rearview mirror, standing in the middle of the road, was the woman, staring at him, smiling. Daniel hit the gas. He didn't look back. He just drove. Years later, he told his story at a truck stop. One of the older drivers paled. "You saw her?" he muttered. "People have been seeing her for decades. Always the same spot. Always vanishes." Daniel never drove that stretch of highway again.
Okay, you made it. But are you sure you are alone? Shadows stretch long in the dark, and sometimes things watch from the corners. If you enjoy the stories, make sure to subscribe my channel before it's too late. Leave a comment below if you are there, but remember, some stories should never be told. I hope I'll see you very soon.